This is the personal statement that I wrote 6 years ago that got me into Cambridge University. Little did I know it would become the most important thing that I'd ever write. Now, I'm not saying this to freak you guys out, but I want you to understand how important this is and how life-changing it can be. But don't worry, together we're going to make sure your personal statement is the best it can be. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Shane and I'm a recently qualified doctor and neuroscience supervisor at Cambridge University, and today I'm going to help you craft your very own expert personal statement. Now, a lot of what I'm going to say is going to be tailored towards the medics, and I'm also going to chuck in a few Oxbridge pointers. But to be honest, a lot of the general points I'm going to be making can be applied to almost any subject and any university. So what am I actually going to be covering today then? Firstly, I'm going to talk about what makes a fantastic personal statement and what things you should include. Then I'm going to go on and talk about how to plan, how to structure, how to write the first draft, how to refine, and how to send for review. So trust me, if you follow the advice that I'm going to give, you're going to be writing some fantastic personal statements. So without further ado, let's get to it. Firstly, I want to give you basically a framework to organize your thoughts and organize all the things that you want to put into your personal statement. But to do that, we need to first have a look at what makes a fantastic personal statement. Well, for medicine, you need to include your motivation. Why do you want to do medicine? Then you need to include your engagement. Essentially refers to what things have you done to learn more about medicine. Then you want to talk about your suitability. What makes you the perfect candidate for medicine? After that, you have to reflect on all the examples you've used to back up all the points you've made so far. Then finally, a fantastic personal statement includes passion and a bucket load of it. Now we have this framework to organize our thoughts. So that's motivation, engagement, suitability, reflection, and passion, or MES RP. We can now go ahead and look a bit deeper into each of these sections. So let's start with motivation. Why do you want to do medicine? Unfortunately, most of the reasons come under only two real categories. One is that you love the human body or you love science and you want to know more about it. And the second category of reasons is that you love to help people and contribute to their well-being. But so do you and thousands of other people. So the motivations are very important to include, but it can be very difficult to set you apart. So how can we actually include all these nice motivations and word it in such a way that's going to make you stand out? That's where later points like reflection and passion is going to come into play. But we'll look at that a bit later. So sticking with motivation, I know that I've talked about two main categories of reasons. One being you want to help people and another being you like science and the human body. Other things you can kind of include that maybe not a lot of other people might think of would be you really love research or you want to drive research into a particular field and tell them why you're interested in that field in particular. Other out-of-the-box reasons could include you're really passionate about global health and affecting change more globally, or you're interested in public health and you want to drive policy changes but as a medical professional. So these are more out-of-the-box reasons, but obviously don't forget to put the standard reasons, because just because everyone else is going to put it doesn't mean that you can just scrap it and not put it, because at the end of the day, those are the main reasons to become a doctor, right? That you're interested in the human body, you're interested in science, and you're interested in helping people and caring for them. But yeah, don't worry, like I mentioned, we're gonna spice this up with a bit of reflection and passion, and we'll cover that later. But next, let's talk about engagement. So engagement, I said, was something that you've done to show that you care about medicine and you've gone out of your way to learn more about it. So these are things like you've done work experience at GP practices, in hospitals, in pharmacies, etc. But it also includes volunteering that you've done at nursing homes, in youth centres, in daycares, basically anything that shows that you've done some volunteering and you've done it for a prolonged period of time. So often when people ask, what's a prolonged period of time? Anything from 2 weeks, 6 months plus is prolonged period of time. And to be honest, that's what they're looking for. A bit more of a long-term commitment rather than I did this really cool 1 week hospital program. They'd rather see that you've done maybe 6 months to a year of volunteering at a nursing home, because at the end of the day, that's what medicine is, right? It's a long-term commitment. But apart from work experience and volunteering, other things you can include to show your engagement with medicine are things like articles that you've read or books that you read that have been medical, scientific papers that you might have read, and news articles or just generally just keeping on top of current medical topics are going to show the person who's reading the personal statement, you know what, this person cares enough about medicine to actually read about it, learn about it, and therefore this person has shown a pretty good degree of commitment to wanting to do medicine. Now, I'll level with you. Back in the day when I was writing my personal statement or planning anything out, I hadn't read a single scientific research paper. But I know that that's something that most people won't do. So if you can just go onto a website called PubMed and, you know, just type in something you're interested in, maybe just read like one paper that has come out quite recently about cancer that's progressed the field. And in your personal statement, you could drop that in and say that you've read this and that you're passionate about it, or that you find this really interesting and that's motivated you to pursue the scientific aspect, but you also care about helping people. Because the danger with going too far down the research route is that they're just going to be like, well, why don't you just do a science subject then? Why do you want to do medicine? So it's really important to also include the element of care whenever you're wording it. So a lot of people, especially applying to Oxbridge, almost always go quite hard with the research stuff and the science stuff, which for Oxbridge is fine, but your personal statement is going to go out to a lot of medical schools, not just Oxbridge, not just Oxford or Cambridge, right? So you need to make sure that you're including elements of care as well. But obviously, if you are trying to just gun for somewhere like Oxford or Cambridge, then include a little bit more research, more kind of science elements to it than you normally would for other universities. So to summarize the engagement then, the things to include in your personal statement are work experience, volunteering, and any cool things that you've read to do with medicine. Now, the third point I mentioned was suitability. So this looks at why are you the perfect candidate for medicine? Why should they pick you out of thousands of applicants to study medicine at this university or that? So really in your personal statement, you have to sell yourself. You can't, you know, hold back and be humble here. Obviously you need to strike a fine balance. You can't be too cocky, but you want to go on the side of, look at me, I'm great, I'm perfect for medicine, pick me, yeah? So how can we do that, and what are the buzzwords to include in the personal statement? To actually figure that out, what I did was I just went on Google and searched person specification medical student or person specification doctor. So person specification is a fancy way of saying what are the ideal qualities of a candidate who is going to be a doctor or who is going to be a medical student. So the ideal qualities are this: they're able to demonstrate communication, team working, and leadership skills. They're able to demonstrate personal maturity, ability to work under pressure, enthusiasm, determination to succeed, and ability to adapt and overcome adversity. They show excellent insight into own limitations and take steps to improve and overcome these. They're able to demonstrate how to escalate concerns and seek help when they're uncertain. They're able to take initiatives and proactively direct their own learning. They show good time management skills, and they're able to balance academic, clinical, and extracurricular personal roles. Okay. So that is essentially a prose that looks at all the key person specification. Now let's go in and extract the key words from there. So these are the key words: communication, team working, leadership, resilience, determination, insight, empathy, compassion, proactive, and good time management. So this is great. You have a list of key qualities that you know that they're looking out for. What you can do now is essentially look at those and see, what have I done? What examples in my life so far do I have to say, yeah, I show good time management because I play rugby at school, or I show good teamwork and leadership skills because I'm the head boy. But essentially you get the idea. You can use these key qualities and then see what things have you done in your life that matches up to each of this and provides evidence for this. Because anyone in their personal statement can just list out a group of random key qualities, right? That's not what they're looking for. They want you to use these buzzwords but back it up with examples and evidence for it. So to give you an example of what I mean, this is something that I might write. My participation in the Youth Enterprise Program helped me hone both my leadership and team working skills. It also helped me develop skills such as empathy and conflict resolution. And after you've done that, include a more specific example of a scenario or situation that links to that. But essentially the takeaway point is, use the key qualities that I've mentioned, see what you've done in your life that matches up to it, and use that as an example in your personal statement. So never just say a key quality and move on, always back it up with any evidence that you have in your personal life. Now let's talk about reflection. This basically follows on from what we spoke about before. So essentially use a person specification or a key quality, back it up with evidence. That's what we've spoken about so far. Now we need to go a step further and provide some reflection onto that. So what do I mean by reflection? This essentially refers to some introspective qualities, ability to delve in a bit deeper into an example or a scenario that's happened in your life, analyze it to a deeper level, and extract what lessons that you've learnt from it. Now, this might sound a little bit OTT, but this is something that they expect you to do further on in your career as a doctor. You know, you always have to carry out some sort of reflection and find a deeper meaning or a lesson you've learnt, and basically show how that's improved you, allowed you to become a better person, a doctor, etc. So if you can show that in your personal statement, you're already showing them that you're so mature and you're already at that higher level of doctor, medical student level. So I'll give you an example of something that just stops at the superficial level, and I'll give you another example of something that looks at a deeper level of reflection. So let's start with the first, superficial level. My participation in the Youth Enterprise Program helped me hone both my leadership and team working skills. It also helped me develop skills such as empathy and conflict resolution. Right, so that's okay, you know, you've listed some person specifications and key qualities, and you've backed it up with a relatively okay example. But that's it. You've literally just said an example and listed a few key qualities. Now that's an okay personal statement. In fact, it might even be a good personal statement. But the fantastic personal statements go beyond this, and they reflect on a particular example and show how that made them a better person and allowed them to learn and improve themselves. So I'll give you an example of how we can go to a deeper level of reflection. So, during my participation in the Youth Enterprise Program, I was able to hone my leadership and team working skills. As a specific example, there was disagreement amongst the team members about product selection, and I was able to discuss calmly with each member and suggest a voting system to decide on the final product. This helped me develop skills such as empathy and conflict resolution by engaging with other team members to understand their point of view. So I hope you can appreciate that that piece that I just read is far more reflective than the first one. It takes it to the other level. It shows the person reading the personal statement that you can extract lessons from the things that you've learnt and improve yourself, and actually be able to think about it and realize, yeah, you know, that was a difficult scenario, but it helped me learn important things, and it's helped me to progress my personal qualities. Now, I know what you're thinking. This second bit was so much longer than the first bit, and you're thinking, you know what, I'm not gonna have enough space if I'm gonna reflect on almost every single thing that I'm going to be doing. But that's exactly the point. You're not gonna be reflecting on every single point. Select the ones that are most poignant or has the highest impact, and choose that to do your reflection and take it to the next level and show the person reading the personal statement that you are someone who is able to learn and progress yourself. Now, the final point on what to include is passion. If you remember, I told you how our motivations are often in two categories, which is either you love medicine because you want to help people, or you love medicine because you love the science. Everyone's going to write that, but how can you set yourself apart? Well, you can do that with reflection, like I mentioned before, but the second thing you can do is use passion and use emotive, passionate language in writing your personal statement. So I'll give you an example of what I actually mean by that. Take this sentence, for example. I like medicine because I can help people. Fine, okay? You know, it's a little bit of a basic sentence, but it gets the point across that you want to do medicine because you like to care for people. So now take this sentence. My excitement for medicine was sparked when I understood how it empowers doctors to positively impact people during their time of need. You can see in this second sentence, you're pretty much saying the same thing, but you're taking it to a higher level of passion. You're really showing them, you know what, I really care about this, I love medicine, and the way you've done that is used powerful adjectives and emotive language. So I'll pick out the key powerful adjectives and emotive language that have been used in that sentence. So that were excitement, sparked, empowers, and positively. So these are all good adjectives and emotive language to throw in. You know, if you're a little bit stuck and if you're not someone who's used to writing for passion, or if you don't really enjoy writing like this, use a thesaurus for some of the words that you've used already and see if there's a more powerful word that's there that you can put in instead of the current one that you have. So hopefully this has given you a good framework to organize your thinking when it comes to planning what you're going to write in your personal statement. So important things, just to summarize then, are motivation, engagement, suitability, reflection, and passion. Now let's look at how to exactly plan your personal statement. So this is how I recommend you plan your personal statement. Open up a Word document and write down the categories motivation, engagement, and suitability. Then bullet point all the reasons for each of these categories. You know, why you want to do medicine under motivation, and under engagement, all the work experience, volunteering, and all the stuff that you've read. And under suitability, list out all the person specification that I mentioned before, and then provide some examples that you have in your life that backs it up. By doing this and bullet pointing the points, you're essentially getting everything that you have in your mind down on a piece of paper. And don't worry too much about word count, or worry if you're going to go over or under. Just write down everything you can possibly think of that relates to each of these categories. So this is going to form the skeleton of your personal statement. You already have a decent structure planned out here. Next, we can go to decide how to write the first draft. When writing your first draft, it's important to think about the structure. Now, the structure that I've given you so far, motivation, engagement, and suitability, is absolutely fine. It works absolutely perfectly. But within each of those sections, you also need to follow the formula that I mentioned before, which is that, you know, if you list a personal specification or a quality, you need to back it up with an evidence of something you've done in your life that shows it, and then take it further and reflect on it. But again, you don't need to reflect on absolutely everything, but select some really good ones to actually carry out further and deeper reflection. So when you're writing the first draft, you want to get rid of all these bullet points, and you want to flesh out all of the points that you've made by actually following the formula that I just mentioned. So, you know, providing a specification, backing up with evidence, and then going to reflect on it. And find links between one thing to another, and essentially you're trying to tell a story with your personal statement, and the story is essentially trying to show that you are fantastic and you're going to be great at doing medicine. And obviously, like I mentioned, don't forget to make your sentences passionate. So when you're writing your draft from the initial bullet pointed plan, you want to, you know, do all this reflection, and you want to make sure you're using passionate words at each sentence. And like I mentioned, use a thesaurus if it's going to help you come up with the motive and powerful words. Still, whilst you're writing your first draft, go as hard as you want. Don't worry too much about the character count, the line count, or whatever. We're going to deal with that a bit later. Now, let's talk about how we can refine your personal statement after you've done this big, massive first draft. So the point of refining is to try and get it down to the character count, which is 4,000 characters and 47 line limit. Now, the easiest way to do this is to look at each sentence and think, is it saying anything about my motivation to do medicine? Is it showing any engagement with medicine? Is it showing any suitability that I have for medicine? Is it showing some sort of reflection? Or is it just there for any sort of passion? If the sentence doesn't say yes to any of these, chuck it. Delete it immediately, because, well, why is it there in the first place? Then, let's say you have a sentence that pretty much ticks one of these boxes, but you also have another sentence that's ticked all of the other boxes as well. At this point, you realize, you know what, this sentence is redundant. I've already said the point that I wanted to make using another sentence. And if you feel like that, decide which of the sentences does it better, and delete the one that you feel isn't as strong and pretty much is saying the same thing. So get rid of that. So when you go through this stage of refining and forcing yourself to get rid of the things that are either redundant or aren't really doing much, then you're going to get your personal statement down to a pretty good level, hopefully as close to 4,000 characters and 47 lines. But still, don't worry if you haven't managed to cut it down to that level, because what we can now do is then send it out for review. So this doesn't mean send it to all these expensive people who charge you so much money to look at personal statements and mark it, etc. Instead, send it to your teachers. Your form teachers, your head of year, the head of school are all here to help you. So you send a copy of your personal statement to them and ask them, you know, what do you think? Is there anything I can improve? Is there anything I can get rid of to cut it down? You can also send it to medics in your family or any medic friends that you might have. I'm pretty sure they're more than happy to have a look for you and see what they think. Of course, whatever they say is advice, and if you don't really agree with it or you don't really buy it, then you don't need to include it. However, do bear in mind that if they're saying something and you trust them, they want the best for you, and they're probably suggesting that this is one way to improve it. Now, if you guys want more ideas about things to put into your personal statement, then definitely do check out both of these videos. They cover things like what you get asked at Cambridge interviews, as well as what to expect from the medical course at Cambridge. Now, if you guys want a free copy of the step-by-step guide, as well as the expert personal statement template, then have a look in the description box below, where I have a link that you can click and just fill in a short form, and you'll get full access to everything. I wish you the best of luck with your personal statement and everything else that's yet to come. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to click that like button, drop me a comment asking any questions that you have, and don't forget to smash that subscribe button also. But that's it from me for today, and I'll see you guys next time.